So let's talk about the possibilities that you are a 4. And if you are, what practices can you do? So let's understand the 4. The 4 is called the individualist. Sometimes it's called the romantic. They're part of this heart triad, so they have lots of emotions. In fact, they have more emotions than any other type in the Enneagram. So they're a heart type, but they have the same problem of shame, like 2s and 3s, that they don't really feel comfortable in their own skin because they, for some reason, they just feel quite unworthy, that they don't feel like they measure up relationally, which is kind of sad because they oftentimes have such deep and beautiful emotions. So let's talk about the strengths of the 4. Sometimes they're called the deep sea divers of the psyche, like the people that really explore the subconscious domains. And so for that fact in itself, we need 4s because they show us the depth and breadth of the human experience. And what they actually experience are beauty and depth and intimacy and drama and authenticity. So they are quintessentially our humanities types students. They love understanding the heights and depths of the human condition. And so you oftentimes think of poets and guitar players and artists, that these are all people that pour that 4 emotion into art. And they're very in touch with the subconscious. Now, I would say for those of you that are 4s out there, you think everybody is like you. You think that everybody needs to process their emotions and that they're in touch with their subconscious. And what I have to tell you as 4s, you're actually quite unique. Most Enneagram types do not want to deal with their emotions because they get in the way. 4s are just the opposite. They need to process their emotions first before they get on to the other tasks. Now, the shadow side is that 4s, for all their self-exploration and emotional kind of experiences, they have this deep fear of not knowing themselves. So they kind of are almost compulsively analyzing and psychoanalyzing their inner drives and desires. And so it really sometimes can come out of not this beautiful stuff that we're saying up here, but this almost kind of frenetic, who am I? Why am I here? What am I trying to do with my life? And it can be too much. They're not really, that's the way they grasp on instead of learning to let go and understand that emotions come and go. They oftentimes, being individuals, they don't fit into social systems very well because they follow their heart, but they miss the social cues sometimes because they're so much into their own story. And they just talk about, they want to talk about their heart feelings. Most people don't want to do that. Most people just want to go along to get along and talk about whatever's happening in sports or Hollywood or politics. But 4s want to talk about their inner feelings. Not everybody wants to do that, so they don't fit into social systems sometimes. And yeah, sometimes they can just like process their feelings ad nauseum, just an overflow, a volcano of emotions. They can also be prone to insecurity and even what we would call, depression. I also want to say, from especially an Asian point of view, it's tough to be a 4 if you're in Korean, Chinese, Japanese culture where you're really pushed to be a part of the group, because then it feels like this part of you is not acknowledged. And I also want to make this point, and I hope I don't make this too dramatically, but it's just an image. But one of the Enneagram teachers that I worked with said that it's interesting, the 4s and the 5s are nearest the end, the bottom of the Enneagram, and there's nothing below but the abyss, meaning that 4s and 5s, the 4s are into their emotions, the 5s are into their head, that they can be most kind of prone to, I guess, melancholy and depression. So the 4-wing 5s, 5-wing 4s, they just have to watch it, right? Because they feel so much and they think so much, but they can sometimes get out of their depth, right? And be kind of overwhelmed. I also want to say a word. A lot of students get kind of confused between 4s and 9s, and they are something of a look-alike. So 4s and 9s, along with 5s, are withdrawn types, okay? But 4s deal with their inner emotions immediately. They seem to, when they look at the glass, they say it's half empty. The 9s are much more optimistic. They think the glass is half full. But the difference is the 9s will need, sometimes days and weeks to process their emotions, whereas 4s will do it almost immediately. So they are lookalikes, but there are some real differences between 4s and 9s. Sometimes 4s and 9s make very nice friends because it's optimistic, pessimistic. There's an energy to the 4s, whereas there's more of a stability to the 9s. One of the most important things I've learned about the 4s is that they need to remind themselves over and over again that I have feelings. I am not my feelings. That they need to give some distance between their identity and their feelings because they can really go up and down. And I do want to say, school can be exhausting for 4s because, and for 9s as well. Both of them just because they're withdrawn types, they gain their energy when they withdraw, and they need that downtime. So sometimes it just becomes, too many people, too much to process, and they need to retreat. And I think it's actually 9s fit in better with groups, and so I think this is especially true for 4s. So Kathy Jia last year, Kathy graduated last school year. She was a 4-wing 3 and just had too many emotions, just like typical 4s. And so what we decided to do is a loving kindness meditation to help open up her heart and process all that. And then we did this, what I oftentimes recommend, which is writing down the emotions that she had, and then she decided to actually burn them as a very graphic way of letting them go. And she said it really helped her to acknowledge it, see if it's worth hanging on to, and it's when she's thought about it enough, she says, no, I've thought about it enough, and I'm going to let it go, instead of endless ruminations on her emotions. And it really helped her out a lot. So here are some practices for 4s. Use the welcoming prayer to experience negative emotions in the body. So feel it in the gut, feel it in the eyes, wherever you feel the sensation in the chest. So you experience it, and you say, I welcome fear, or I welcome sadness. And then you kind of toggle back and forth between the sensation and the acknowledgement of the emotion. What we're trying to do is keep you out of the head with always rethinking all these things. Okay? A short centering meditation followed by journal writing to help process your emotions. Writing down emotions and ripping or burning them up. Here's another idea. Visualize your emotions as bubbles outside of you, and you can actually label them. And then say to yourself, I have emotions. I am not my emotions. When overwhelmed with emotions, and some kids have done this, is turning to art. Use a practice like calligraphy or ikebana to focus on something positive and pleasing rather than ruminating on your emotions. So sometimes, pour all that creativity and beauty and depth into artwork. And that's when you're feeling like you're overwhelmed with emotions. Pour it into something else. Okay? All right. Well, good luck to all you 4s, and I wish you all the best because we need you. We need the deep sea divers of the psyche, but we need to figure out how to properly handle your emotions. So good luck.